The evening city lights sparkled through the tall glass windows of the restaurant where she sat. Elena Moretti, a young but powerful CEO known for her brilliance and unshakable discipline, had her wheelchair parked beside the table. She had been paralyzed from the waist down after a car accident 3 years earlier. Since then, life had become a string of carefully managed routines, endless boardroom meetings, and very little space for anything that resembled warmth or joy. She rarely allowed herself to think about love again. But tonight was different. Her friends had convinced her to go on a blind date, insisting that she deserved a chance to meet someone who could see beyond the wheelchair. She reluctantly agreed, though she kept her expectations low. People either pitied her or were intimidated by her wealth and power. So when she waited at that table, staring at the flickering candle in front of her, she prepared herself for disappointment. She straightened her blazer, adjusted her gloves, and sighed. She wasn't here for romance, at least not really. She was here to prove to her friends that she could still try, that she wasn't frozen in time by her condition. Meanwhile, across town, a man named Jack Dawson was washing grease off his hands after another long day at the auto shop. He was a mechanic, known for his skill and honesty, though life had never been easy on him. A single father raising a 10-year-old daughter, Jack worked tirelessly to provide for her. His daughter Lucy had begged him to take this blind date. "Dad, you deserve someone to make you smile too," she had said with those wide, innocent eyes. So reluctantly, Jack put on his one good shirt, combed back his hair, and made his way to the restaurant. He wasn't prepared for fine dining. He didn't know which fork to use or how to pronounce half the things on the menu. But he carried something more important, genuine kindness, a heart unscarred by greed, and a sense of humor that had helped him through the toughest of days. When Jack walked in, Elena noticed him instantly. He didn't look like the polished businessman she was used to. His shirt sleeves were rolled slightly. His hands bore the faint marks of calluses and oil stains, and his smile was disarmingly real. Not the fake, polished grin of someone wanting her money or influence. He walked toward her table nervously, glancing around until their eyes met. "You must be Elena," he said softly, pulling out the chair across from her. "And you must be, not what I expected," Elena replied, a slight smirk on her face. Jack chuckled awkwardly. "Trust me, I feel the same. This place is a little too fancy for me. I had to ask my daughter if my tie matched my shirt." That surprised Elena. "You have a daughter?" "Yes," Jack said proudly, his eyes lighting up. "Lucy, she's 10. She's the reason I'm here, actually. She thought I needed, well, this." For the first time in years, Elena laughed. Not politely, but genuinely. Something about his honesty cut through her defenses. As they talked, Jack didn't stare at her wheelchair. He didn't let pity seep into his tone. He asked her about her favorite books, her favorite childhood memory, and told her stories of fixing cars with Lucy hanging around the garage, asking endless questions. Elena found herself opening up in ways she hadn't before. She spoke about the accident, how overnight she had gone from a marathon runner to someone who couldn't walk at all. She admitted how hard it was to trust people, especially when she never knew if they saw her or just her fortune. Jack listened without judgment, nodding quietly, his eyes soft but never pitying. Then something happened. At one point, Elena grew quiet, staring down at her hands. Jack tilted his head and said, "You know, Elena, I don't see a woman in a wheelchair. I see someone who fought through more than most people could handle, and still came out strong. If that doesn't deserve admiration, I don't know what does." The words hit her harder than she expected. She blinked back tears. No one had ever said it quite like that. Most people tiptoed around her injury or pretended it wasn't there, but Jack acknowledged it, respected it, and then moved past it. Dinner stretched into hours. They shared stories, laughter, and moments of quiet understanding. Elena found herself studying the way Jack's eyes lit up when he spoke about his daughter, the way his rough hands gestured as he described fixing an old Chevy, the way he never once made her feel small. When it was time to leave, Jack instinctively moved to help her with her coat, but stopped halfway. "May I?" he asked. Elena nodded, surprised by his respect, by the way he always gave her the choice. Outside, the night air was crisp, and her chauffeur was already waiting. But for a moment, Elena didn't want to go back to her world of glass towers and polished masks. She wanted to stay in this rare space where she was just herself. Jack shoved his hands in his pockets. "Listen, Elena, I know I'm not the guy you probably imagined meeting tonight. I fix cars, I live in a small house, and I don't have much to offer except honesty and maybe a good laugh when you need it. But if you'd like, I'd love to see you again." Elena's throat tightened. No boardroom strategy had ever prepared her for this feeling. She smiled. "Jack, you're exactly the person I didn't know I needed to meet." That night, when Elena returned home, she looked at herself in the mirror. For the first time since the accident, she didn't just see the chair. She saw hope. She saw a future she thought she had lost. In the weeks that followed, Elena and Jack grew closer. She visited his small garage, watching him work with grease-stained hands while Lucy danced around teasing him. In turn, Jack accompanied her to a charity gala, standing beside her not as a shadow but as a partner who made her feel whole. It wasn't always easy. Their worlds were different. Elena had to fight against skeptical board members who questioned her choices, while Jack had to push past his own insecurities about fitting into her lifestyle. But through it all, they discovered something rare: authentic love, built not on appearances or wealth but on truth. The blind date that began as an obligation turned into the beginning of a miracle neither of them had expected. The paralyzed CEO, who thought her heart was locked away forever, found herself smiling again, because a mechanic with nothing to prove had walked into her life. And Jack? He found the partner he had long given up on, someone who not only accepted his struggles but celebrated the man he was. Together they created a story that showed the world that love doesn't ask about wealth, status, or physical limitations. It simply asks for two hearts willing to see each other clearly. By the time Elena wheeled herself into Jack's garage months later, Lucy running to hug her with the words, "I'm so glad you're here," Elena realized something she hadn't allowed herself to believe for years. She wasn't broken. She wasn't incomplete. She was loved, fully and unconditionally. And for Jack, every time he saw Elena smile, he knew. Sometimes the most unexpected meetings heal the deepest wounds. Sometimes a blind date can change everything. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.